Char friends, welcome back. So we're going to do the 5-2 emotional 6.5 day general overview. Now, this is the entire 6.5 day sequence. And we want you to see this because the first thing we want you to understand is how difficult this is going to be from the defensive design stance of our body. You see, this electromagnetic pattern agitates our defensive design and it causes us to react. So we break this into basically 7 days. We have 6 full days and 1 half day. And in the forecasts, we show you which days stress is going to be elevated and when it's going to be harder to stay calm, whether it's in first person, third person, and then we combine those two things. Now, the 5-2 emotional set is not super strong here. Now, is it going to be more challenging than the 5-1 was? Yes, the 5-1 was relatively calm. This is starting to build back up, and there's definitely going to be some agitation that people are going to have to work through in the 5-2. Now, the first thing I want you to know when you're looking at these graphs is we're going to use a lot of ocean references. So in the ocean, you have swells, and then on top of swells, you get the waves or some chop, okay? So you can see there's a swell starting here. A swell is when this pattern elevates and holds. You see how there's a swell here, and there's also a swell here. Now, these two are showing you how there's different waves, and this is combining these two waves, and that's showing you the combined swell here, all right? So when you see a swell, we know that it's the stronger frequencies because they take a long time for their polarity to flip. Those are the mental micro frequencies, and those are the emotional macro frequencies. So, for example, this is an emotional dual macro frequency that's creating a swell, and this is a mental single frequency that's creating a swell. Now, whether it's emotional or mental, it's definitely going to agitate and make decision making a little bit more difficult and make losing your temper and wanting to fall victim to your defensive design that much easier. So, especially the first couple days in the 5-2, you're going to want to be on high alert, okay? And then when we get to the end of this sequence, you can see we're starting to get those swells again. Now, there's consistent chop through every single emotional sequence. Chop's not going to go away. And you're going to want to know on a day that it's going to be a little choppier, you know, how you've got some bigger waves here. That's important to know too. And we're going to break that down when we do the 24-hour forecast. All right, so this is what the electromagnetics look like for the 5-2. And the good news is this: it's not going to be super difficult to stay calm and overcome your defensive design. Okay. Now let's get down here and look at testing sequence. So every emotional sequence is going to test the quadrants of our body a little different. These are the governing frequencies, and they're testing to see how well we're getting along with all our teammates and how well we're balancing our routines. And we have to balance our routines in a way that's going to leave this future world better for every teammate that exists. So in your mind, think of it this way: it shouldn't matter what country you're born in, you're going to have equal opportunity if you're investing in a team approach here. Now, that's not what's happened. If you're born in a different country now, you have a wildly different experience. Now, we're not going to fix all this overnight, but we need as many people in as many countries to start to understand we're all in this together, and we have to start acting as an interconnected team. Our routines must reflect our intentions to balance and make this world a fair and equal place. So that's how you would be in perfect alignment with these frequencies. If you're not getting along with certain teammates and if you're not balancing your routine that's going to leave the world a better place for every future family, then you're going to have some trouble when these frequencies are testing you. If you're out of frequency, what happens is this: it accelerates aging and it causes specific states of disease. And those specific states of disease are going to go to the quadrants that you're having the most problems with, whether it's first person getting along with teammates or third person balancing your routine in a way that's going to help everybody that exists now and in the future. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now you understand how that works. And when we look at the 5-2 sequence here, we can see that the left lower quadrant is one of the heavier sequences, and it also has a lot of up and down action here. Okay, so there are going to be some days where you're probably going to feel this one a little bit more. Now, why am I picking on the lower left or this orange quadrant first? Well, because it's above 4 in a lot of the frequencies here, meaning if there's more than 4 frequencies in a quadrant, that's a pretty heavy test load. Okay, now let's compare that to the upper right. This is probably the least tested sequence in the 5-2. This is going to test the upper right quadrant. These are the relationships that are connected to it. Now, when we look at the upper left, that's dancing right at that number 4. Day 1's a little lower. And then when we look at the right lower, that's dancing at that number 4 too, maybe kicks up a little bit. So here's the strongest test load, here's the weakest test load, and then upper left and lower right, well, they're going to be pretty equal as far as what you're experiencing there. Now, all that means is it's just trying to help you understand which teammates and which routines are going to be evaluated in this next 6.5 day sequence. All right, let's move on here. So now we're going to talk about what relationships specifically are going to be tested and how that's connected to the areas of the body that you're going to hurt if you're not doing well. Now, these charts right here really kind of simplify things for you. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to orientate you to this chart. Now, you're going to see some of these images moving around. They're on a 10-second interval here, and we'll come back and we're going to talk about them as we need to. Now, first thing is first, on the tool, our technology, on our live feed, you're going to see awareness numbers, like, for example, the 8-1. So if you see the 8-1, well, now you know what it means. It means it's checking to see how balanced your choices are at the world level and how balanced your choices are with younger, immature females on the team, period. Now, the horizontal is the space and the time is the vertical. And first person, well, that has to do with space. And the vertical time, that has to do with third person. So we actually connect these things for you. Now, when you look at these blue circles, those are the physical ones. That's what the P's are about. And you can see there's a first and a second. That's why there's a P1 and a P2. When you see this purple circle, this is emotional. That's why there's an E, showing you where that's going to affect the body. That's the emotional, where it's going to affect both space and time. Now, the magenta one here, the square one, that's a little different. This isn't a macro. This is actually a micro. That's why it's the small m. Okay. So you see there's a small m here. So when you're looking at this, it's going to tell you exactly where that small m is going to affect you. That's what these charts are doing over here. They're combining those two things. So what this is this is the entire 6.5 day sequence for the emotional 5-2 set. And it's not just emotional. That's what we're trying to help you understand here. There are physical challenges, there are mental challenges, and we're going to briefly talk about all of this stuff so that you can get used to looking at these guides. Now, when we do the 24-hour post, we're really going to zoom it in and we're going to talk about each one of these and what you'd have to do. And specifically, we're going to talk about these two blue ones because these are the ones that are moving the most. These are moving every 12 hours. So it's checking to see that you're balanced in all kinds of different areas. Now, these three right here, they don't move that often. This moves every 6.5 days. This moves every 7.5 days. And this one sits here for the year. Now, again, it's this simple. If you want to know what you're being tested on from the macro mental level, you're being tested on world and mother relationships. How balanced are your choices, and are they going to leave the world a better place? And do they leave these teammates feeling better? Okay. Now, how can you connect where these are going to affect the body? Well, let's use this macro mental again, and then you can do it for the rest of these on your own. So this is again the space here. So space is world, and that is the capital M. That's for this macro here, right? Capital M is magenta. That's going to affect the left lower quadrant of the body if you're having problems with this perspective. And if you're having problems with the time perspective, that's going to be this level 4 here. That's going to affect right here, right lower quadrant. So if in 2024 you really had a lot of right hip pain come up, what it really means is you're having trouble getting along with this teammate. And in 2024, if you've noticed that you've had more left hip pain, what that means is, well, your choices aren't very balanced and it's not leaving this world a better place for all the future participants. That's how this works. That's how you connect these graphs. Now, again, on the 24-hour, we're going to get very detailed. Now, this is just to give you an overview so you can see all the days, see exactly where you're going to be tested. And this one right here, I'm going to back this up here for a second. So this is actually showing you how we're going to have a mental movement. So we're going to have a micro mental polarity flip, and it's going to change from the 6-8 to the 6-7. And then the 6-8 goes away, and now you'll be tested on this for 7.5 days, and that's how that works. All right, so these charts were really simplified And we've given you the entire 6.5 day sequence. So you can scroll down on our forecast page and you can come down here and see exactly what parts of they're going to be tested by these stronger frequencies and what parts of the body they're going to affect if you're out of balance. Now, we're not including two frequencies. We're not including the physical micros and we're not including the emotional micros. Why? Well, the emotional micros, they cycle every 3.5 hours. So there'd be a little circle moving here. We'd have a bunch of them. Same thing with the physical. So for the micro physical, they change every 15 minutes. So every 15 minutes in the day, there's a different awareness that's testing you. So that's why we don't include them. The square here, we include this one because the mental micro, it's big. 7.5 days, it's bigger than the emotional macro. So that's why we're including that. Now, these graphs are going to take a little time to get used to, but once you do, this is going to be super simple for you. And that's why we do this so that we can try to make this as easy as possible for you to heal and get as well as soon as possible. All right. Thanks for joining us on this preview of the 5-2, and we'll see you in the first 24-hour forecast.